Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this evening. We want to give you a nice warm welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tori Pearl, and I am here with Trina Hanner. We will be your presenters tonight. We work for One Ascent Financial Services. The reason we've really started working and presenting these webinars is to expand our reach and to help educate as many people as possible regarding sound biblical money principles. If this is the first webinar that you're attending with us, we especially want to welcome you. If you would like to watch some previously recorded webinars, we encourage you to reach out to our office and we can email you a link to those. The March webinar, was on Social Security, and the April webinar taught money biblical principles that apply no matter where you are in life. But like always, before we get started, a few housekeeping items. First, everyone watching is muted and your cameras are off. You are not able to change either of these settings, but if you have something to say or if you have a question, we encourage you to use the Q&A box or the chat box on Zoom. We will be monitoring these during the webinar, and we will have a question and answer time at the end. In fact, I want to start and give us a trial with our chat box tonight. So if you're on right now, if you're watching us live, please go into that chat box and let us know from where you're watching. All we really need is the city and state. This isn't for anything particular. This is really just to see how far our reach expands and to see if we can get this chat box working for us tonight. Looks like we've got some people from North Carolina. That's exciting. All right. Let's see. Got someone coming in from Indiana, a couple from Indiana. That's not surprising. And at the end of our webinar, you'll be prompted to answer a 2-question survey at the end. We encourage you to fill this out so we can better our webinars in the future. Also, we're encouraging participation tonight with the use of polls. When it's time to launch a poll, it will pop up on your screen and you'll be able to select your appropriate answer. And as always, all poll results are anonymous. Lastly, we will be guiding you through a quick activity tonight. So I encourage you to take just a second and to grab a scrap sheet of paper, a Post-it note, the back of an envelope, something small, and maybe a pen or a pencil. It's a really simple activity, so you won't need much room or many tools to participate. So now that all of that is out of the way, let's get into the real reason we're all here tonight. Our webinar is titled, Overcoming the Biggest Mistake People Make with Their Money. Financial advisors have historically focused on helping you get a greater return on your invested assets. And honestly, we still do that. But more importantly, we help you use your money to get a greater return on life. This idea of getting a greater return on life is more important now than ever. Let's see why and kick off our first poll here. So poll number 1, I'm going to get that going now. I'm going to launch it for us. Are people happier today than they were 40 years ago? Your poll box probably popped up right in the middle of your screen. If you want to drag that over out of the way, you can, but the question is on the poll just like it is on the screen. Are people happier today than they were 40 years ago? Again, your responses are completely anonymous. So you've had a couple trickling in here. I'm going to end the poll and share our results with you. So there's a resounding no. Everybody voted no, that people are not happier today than they were 40 years ago. Let's take a look at what the statistics say. Trina, can you advance to that next slide? Here are the stats. Turns out that people are in fact no happier today than they were 40 years ago. So you guys are on to something. And how about different countries around the world? Of industrialized countries, Switzerland is one of the happiest, while Turkey is one of the unhappiest. Let's go to another poll here. Poll number 2. Get this launched here. Are people happier in marriage today than they were 40 years ago? free to submit your answer here when it appears on your screen. Again, all your results are anonymous if your spouse is watching too.
I'm thinking, Tori, leave it to Beaver. That's where my mind goes with this question.
There you go. Are people happier in marriage today than they were 40 years ago? We're right down the middle on this one. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. 50% say yes, and 50% say no. So let's see what our results are here. Turns out that people are no happier today in marriage than they were 40 years ago. Is that surprising to you, Trina?
No.
You've cheated. You've seen these before. All right, we're going to go to our last poll of the night, poll number 3. Are people happier today with their financial situation than they were 40 years ago? Are people happier with their financial situation today than they were 40 years ago? Again, your results are completely anonymous here. Go ahead and end the poll, share our results. So we're at 57% say yes and 43% say no. So again, almost a 50-50 result here. Turns out, I know this is surprising, that people are no happier today with their financial satisfaction than they were 40 years ago. So those last 3 results, those last polls kind of show us a trend here, right? People are less happy today with their financial situation than they were 40 years ago, despite the fact that the GDP has tripled in 44 years. The stock market rose more than 13,000% over the last 44 years, ending in 2018. The average household income in the US has risen by 1/3 after inflation over the past 30 years. And we've had immeasurable improvements in healthcare, technology, and our standard of living. So we kind of have to ask ourselves, if our country has made so many improvements over the past 30 to 40 years, why aren't we as human beings feeling better about our life and financial situation? And that brings us full circle all the way back around to the title of our webinar tonight, the biggest mistake people make with their money. I'd say that most advisors will say the biggest mistakes people make with their money are things like not saving enough for retirement, or not taking a long-term approach to investing, or not having a financial plan. And those are certainly very important mistakes to avoid. But we think the biggest mistake people make is something different.
Thanks, Tori. The biggest mistake we think that people make with their money is not aligning what they do with their money to what's most important to them. So the key here is to get clear on what's most important to you, and then make sure that you use your money in ways that help you live your best life possible. So in other words, how can we use the money we have to get a better return on life? Unfortunately, most people don't consciously do this. Take a minute and think about why you think that is. So a lot of people see their money as an end, a goal, something to be chased after. And all that effort, for many people, 40 to 60 to 80 hours a week. But do we feel like we're getting anywhere? I think we typically believe if people have money, they have found success, security, and significance. And this is true for some people I know who have had a lot of money. But I think it's safe to say that most of the time we don't necessarily see evidence that this is true. Money isn't a goal. It's not a destination. It's not the sea that you're sailing. It's not even the boat. Money is the sail that you use to get you where you want to go. And the wind in the sail that directs us is our values. So we're afraid to step off the hamster wheel because we have bills to pay, families to support, mouths to feed. We say we'll retire someday when we're financially set. Not to mention, society tells us to work harder, longer, faster, acquire more and more and more. But how much is enough? So see if this sounds familiar to you. We tell ourselves that someday we'll get off that wheel and do all of the things we want to do. Someday, when we have enough money, we'll be secure, confident, we'll have arrived. Then we can truly live. But often someday never comes. We stay on the wheel. And retirees who can't shake the never enough mentality end up pinching pennies instead of enjoying their day-to-day life. Fear sets in. The central question should not be, do I have enough money? That is a secondary question. But the central question is, am I managing my money in a way that is improving my life and pleasing to my Creator, Father? The conversation needs to change from focusing on your money to putting God's will for your life at the center of the conversation. And the process changes then from buying and selling various financial products and participating in basic financial planning to what we call life-centered planning. So life-centered planning starts with understanding you, your story, your situation, and the challenges and opportunities ahead of you. So how do you reprogram yourself to get off the hamster wheel and to use money as a sail to help improve your life? The first step is clarifying what really matters to you. What are your values? Are you able to articulate those? Who are the people you love? What are your passions, your hobbies, the causes that really matter to you? The reason you get up in the day, the things that keep you up at night, the things you would love to do if time and money were no object. And Tori is actually going to walk us through an exercise to help get us thinking about this.
So do you remember that piece of paper I prompted you to grab a hold of before we started? Go ahead and pull that out. If you don't have one, don't worry. Whenever we send out this recording to your email address, we're going to include a PDF with this exact slide on it. So you don't have to worry if this is perfect, or maybe you just want to listen for now and do this exercise in your own time. That's fine too. But if you do have a piece of paper and you are willing to participate, I want you to take a minute and I want you to list numbers 1 through 10 on the left side of your piece of paper, just like this chart is showing. And I want you to make 3 columns. So on the left side, it's going to be your important values. You're going to list your important values 1 through 10. These common values could include things like loyalty, spirituality, compassion, kindness, integrity, generosity. The list really goes on. Just values that are really important to you and your family. List them 1 through 10. Then on that second column, I want you to rank the top 5 most important values from column 1. Just 1 through 5, maybe you listed them out of order. I know I do that often. So just of the important values that you've written down, list the top 5 most important values from column 1. And your last column there is percentage of time. So I want you to estimate how much of your time you spend thinking about, living, and incorporating those top 5 values. So again, if you're still working through this, we're going to have a chart. You're going to number it 1 through 10 on the left side, 3 separate columns. On the left column, those are important values to you. So things that are really important to you: kindness, generosity, integrity, those type of things. In the middle column, I want you to rank those values 1 through 5, the most important ones. And on the right, the percentage of time that you spend thinking about, living, and incorporating those top 5 values. And I think this will be a good way that we can see what our values are, maybe really writing them down. How many of us spend time writing down our values and then breaking down how much time we spend on those? And this is an important exercise.
And it's so important that we're actually going to send this out to you after the webinar's over tomorrow. Lori's going to send you the replay and also a PDF, an attachment of this exercise so that you can work through it. Maybe your spouse isn't on the webinar, or you just need more time to really think about this. And I think it's a good exercise for us to consider. So imagine what your life would be like if the way that you think about, spend, and invest your money was 100% in agreement with what's most important to you. Would that be the kind of life that you desire? And one way to integrate the idea into your daily life is, before any big money decision, pray. If you ask God, is what I'm about to buy, invest, allocate my money toward in 100% alignment with what's most important to you and best for me? That's the first step. And another practical application is choosing one area to improve. So looking at your list, maybe it's the number one area. Look back at your list and circle that one that you'd like to begin aligning with your money, and make a list of what you might be able to improve in that area, and identify the first step that you can take in the next 48 hours that would help you improve that area. And then just do it. An important part of this exercise is actually reflecting on completing this step and thinking about ways to continue this practice. And Tori, I would love for you to share your personal example.
Sure. So an easy example for me and for our family would be with the value of generosity. If we think about aligning the value of generosity with how we spend our money, the doors really open wide. There are lots of opportunities to share generosity with everybody. Something we could do in the next 48 hours, a really simple way we could help, would be carrying extra cash with us and handing it out freely, no strings attached. Now, I know many people don't carry cash anymore, but it's simple enough to get a hold of. Just giving it out freely. I think of a story I recently heard Ron Blue tell. He gives $20 bills to people who are often overlooked. Think of people like janitors at an airport, janitors at a hotel, that sort of thing. He just hands them out to people who often aren't the recipients of such gifts. Personally, I try to be generous in some way every week. Sometimes this looks like purchasing gift cards and giving them to people who are experiencing a tough season. Sometimes this looks as simple as baking cookies for our daughter's teachers. Oftentimes, this is committing financially to supporting a new ministry, a missionary, or adoption. Really, the possibilities are endless when we put some thought behind where our money is going and being intentional about incorporating our values into that.
Thank you. That's awesome. Great example. So we see our role as being a little different than other advisors, as you can tell. So yes, we help you with all things related to your money, like other advisors do, but we put your life at the center of the conversation, not your money. So we help you clarify what is most important to you, what you want your money to do for you. Then we develop a plan that helps you live your best life possible with the money that you have. And tomorrow, Lori's going to send out an email, like I said, with the link, the attachment to the exercise that we just did and the replay link. But she's also going to include this free Return on Life Index assessment. And this exercise is intended to help you determine how well you're doing at getting the best return on life. It's not something where you complete it and we can see any results. It's totally for you. You'll be able to see your results immediately, and it stays private. So you can just use it for you and your spouse if you want to, and kind of talk through kind of where you are and identify some of these areas that you want to improve. Well, tonight's webinar was short and sweet. So this is the end of it. We'll be following up tomorrow, and I want to thank you for joining us. And Tori, I think you have a couple housekeeping things there.
Yeah, just a couple things. If there are any last minute questions, we are happy to answer those if you have another minute or two before we hop off here. But I just wanted to remind you that there is a short survey that you'll receive once this webinar ends, and we would love to hear any feedback you have for us so we can grow and make these webinars as good as they can be for you.
Yeah, and on that note, while people are, if you have a question, feel free to type that in and we'll try to address it. But one of the things we've heard so far is that you would like some kind of a webinar on estate planning or inheritance or, wills and trusts and that kind of information. So we'll be addressing that. We have 3 more. I think we're going to have 3 more in the fall. We're going to take a break now for the summer. Everybody wants to get out. It's been a rough winter here in Wyoming. And I'm sure that you're anxious to get out wherever you are too and do different things. So we'll kick back up probably in September, it looks like. And so it'll probably be spring, winter or spring before we hit the estate planning one, but please feel free to let us know if there's something that you would like more information on, because these are really for you. And I'm not seeing any questions. Do you see any, Tori?
I'm not seeing any either.
Okay. So we will sign off.
Thank you, everyone.